Hi, this is Elisa DeMartino. I'm at the Global Summit for Peace in Ukraine. It's hosted by the Global Union of Scientists for Peace. I'm speaking today with Bob Roth, who is the CEO of the David Lynch Foundation. Can you tell me the main idea behind your methods presented today and how you came up with it?
So there is a global epidemic that is not being addressed in Ukraine and all over the world, and that global epidemic is high and escalating levels of trauma and toxic stress in the lives of the whole population, but in particular in the lives of, we could say, at-risk or underserved populations. People who grow up in war-torn areas or crime-ridden areas or victims of domestic violence. And the David Lynch Foundation, founded by the great filmmaker David Lynch, established 12 years ago a foundation to raise funds and to bring an evidence-based, which means scientifically proven meditation technique to these at-risk populations, which has been found to reduce and heal trauma and stress better than any medicine, any drug, anything that's ever been used.
Now, is your method a main way to deal with societal conflict and achieve societal peace, or is it just a supplemental method?
I think when you're talking about peace, you need all sorts of things. You need to have economic renewal, you need to have good health, you need to have good education, you need to continue to have military strength, all those things. But what's missing from all of this is this element of creating peace, you could say, within the lives of the individuals. And until you do that, there'll be no lasting peace. I mean, you can have someone write a peace agreement and sign a peace agreement, it's not worth the paper it's printed on if all sides are livid or you know, there's generations of hatred and animosity. So this is an element that's been missing, then when added, helps to calm the stresses, the tensions, and the religious tensions that fuel so much, or political tensions, and really contributes to peace. So I would say it doesn't exist alone, but it's an essential component.
Do you consider this approach something to implement in the long term, or is it something to reduce short-term stress?
It's both. It's both a short-term solution to immediately calm the stress that, you know, so you have this generations long of religious, political, ethnic tensions that, when allowed to build up, that fuel violence, that fuel terrorism, and nothing political can address that. There's no, you know, economic embargo that can address that. So by adding that now, by teaching, you know, millions of people to meditate anywhere in the world, it does two things. It reduces the stress and the tension now, so it calms, but it's also preventative. It also prevents those things from flaring up in the future.
And how can your method help Ukrainians face the day-to-day struggle in dealing with a fight in the East, fight against corruption, coping with the occupation of Crimea?
A simple technique, transcendental meditation, practice for just a few minutes twice a day. It looks just like this. It's very simple to do. Anyone can learn how to do it. It's not a religion, it's not a philosophy, it's not a lifestyle. Immediately, when offered through schools, we teach this, and this is offered in schools all over the United States and all over the world. When offered in schools, it helps children, particularly in violent or crime or war-torn areas. They can't sleep, they live in fear, they're upset all the time. This helps calm them down and helps them more. The key word is resilient, because if a child is broken, you can almost never get them back. But if something like this can be offered, it can make them more resilient. And that, I think, is what's needed more than anything else right now. Because we can't wait. You know, the violence is going on. But if we give something to these children now, and their parents, and their brothers and sisters, and the teachers, they can just help them even a little bit. Over time, that's helping them a lot.
So what you're saying is people are able to meditate and then come up with new ideas to resolve the conflict and to reduce the tension, and that's what's helping them cope in the meditation.
What it does is it does two things. The meditation, and if the word meditation is has too many connotations, just say this technique, this technology. It does two things. It gives the body a state of rest deeper than sleep, and that eliminates such things as there's a hormone called cortisol, it's a stress hormone. And when a person is very anxious, there's high levels of cortisol. That stops us from thinking clearly, from sleeping properly, makes us sick, makes us overreact to everything. Cortisol levels during the meditation reduce 30 to 40%. During a good night's sleep, if you get a good night's sleep, they drop 5 to 10%. So in a profound way, it heals and promotes health in the body. But even more than that, it wakes up the brain. It wakes up the creative centers of the brain, the problem-solving centers of the brain, the organizing powers of the brain, so that now we're able to better solve our problems. We can this isn't something to make everyone passive. This is to empower people to solve problems and come up with innovative solutions. So it's very important. This isn't just something, oh, you just sit back and everything's fine. This gets rid of the stress so people feel healthier, but also wakes up the brain so they can come up with the solutions that are necessary.
Obviously, your method is very interesting. It's a very insightful alternative method for conflict resolution.
Two things. It does two things. You know, if two people are having a screaming match at home, and you always want to just say, calm down, you know, children, go into your separate rooms. And they, you know, there's time out. They calm down. Just the calming down, then just that alone takes the edge off, and then they can work out their differences. So it does two things. The conflict resolution is to remove that atmosphere of tension that just, you know, like you can drive through some parts of Kyiv and it's very calm, and you drive through other parts of Kyiv and you roll up the windows and you lock the door. We know when the collective consciousness is fearful, and that can be changed through group meditation.
So if your method were introduced in a number of different countries, if people started regularly practicing meditation, for example, if it started being a common practice in Russia and Ukraine, do you think that this would help resolve the conflict?
Huge, huge effect. And just look at stress. Let's look at stress like you have an epidemic of malaria. Okay, so everybody's sick, and you're trying to figure out, now if you could give a pill to fight the malaria, there's two different things. You take a pill to cure the malaria, but then you also have to change the water. You have to purify the water that's breeding the malaria. So there's two things. First, we have to just calm people down. Look at TM as like a pill. Calm everyone down, and then use your creativity to solve your differences. So you need both.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really educational. I feel like I've learned a lot in speaking with you. So thank you so much for joining us today. That was Bob Roth, who is the CEO of the David Lynch Foundation and an advocate of transcendental meditation in order to resolve conflicts. My name is Elisa DeMartino, and thank you for watching.